How have all the surgeries that you've done over the years, the people you've helped, and the stakes, the high stakes that you've mentioned, how has that changed your understanding of life and death?
Yeah. It gives you a very visceral sense, and this may sound trite, but it gives you a very visceral sense that death is inevitable. On one hand, you are, as a neurosurgeon, you're deeply involved in these like just hard to fathom tragedies. Young parents dying, leaving, a 4-year-old behind, say. And on the other hand, it takes the sting out of it a bit because you see how just mind-numbingly universal death is. There is zero chance that I'm going to avoid it. I know, techno-optimists right now and longevity buffs right now would disagree on that 0.000% estimate. But I don't see any chance that our generation is going to avoid it. Entropy is a powerful force, and we are very ornate, delicate, brittle DNA machines that aren't up to the cosmic ray bombardment that we're subjected to. So, on the one hand, every human that has ever lived died or will die. On the other hand, it's just one of the hardest things to imagine inflicting on anyone that you love is having them gone. I mean, I'm sure you've had friends that aren't living anymore, and it's hard to even think about them. And so I wish I had, arrived at the point of nirvana where, death doesn't have a sting. I'm not worried about it, but I can at least say that I'm comfortable with the certainty of it. If not having found out how to take the tragedy out of it when I think about, my kids, either not having me or me not having them or my wife.
Maybe I've come to accept the intellectual certainty of it, but and maybe the pain that comes with losing the people you love. I don't think I've come to understand the existential aspect of it, like that this is going to end. And I don't mean like in some trite way. I mean like it certainly feels like it's not going to end. Like you live life like it's not going to end.
Right.
And the fact that this light that's shining, this consciousness is going to no longer be in one moment, maybe today. It's like it fills me when I really am able to load all that in with Ernest Becker's terror. Like it's a real fear. I think people aren't always honest with how terrifying it is.
Yeah.
I think the more you are able to really think through it, the more terrifying it is. It's not such a simple thing. Oh, well, it's the way life is. And if you really can load that in, it's hard. But I think that's why the Stoics did it, because it like helps you get your shit together and be like this. Well, the moment, every single moment you're alive is just beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's terrifying that it's gonna end. And it's like you're like almost like you're shivering in the cold, a child, helpless, this kind of feeling.
Yeah.
And then it makes you, when you have warmth, when you have the safety, when you have the love, to really appreciate it. I feel like sometimes in your position, when you mentioned armor, just to see death, it might make you not be able to see that, the finiteness of life, because if you kept looking at that, it might break you. So it's good to know that you're kind of still struggling with that. There's the neurosurgeon, and then there's a human.
Yeah.
And the human is still able to struggle with that and feel the fear of that and the pain of that.
Yeah, it definitely makes you ask the question of how many of these can you see, and not say I can't do this anymore. But I mean, you said it well. I think it gives you an opportunity to just appreciate that you're alive today. And I've got 3 kids and an amazing wife, and I'm really happy. Things are good. I get to help on a project that I think matters. I think it moves us forward. I'm a very lucky person.
It's the early steps of a potentially gigantic leap for humanity. It's a really interesting one. And it's cool because like you read about all this stuff in history where it's like the early days. I've been reading, before going to the Amazon, I would read about explorers that would go and explore even the Amazon jungle for the first time. It's just, those are the early steps.
Yeah.
Or early steps into space, early steps in any discipline, in physics and mathematics. And it's cool because this is like on the grand scale, these are the early steps into delving deep into the human brain. So not just observing the brain, but be able to interact with the human brain.
Yeah.
It's going to help a lot of people, but it also might help us understand what the hell's going on in there.
Yeah. I think ultimately we want to give people more levers that they can pull, right? Like you want to give people options. If you can give someone a dial that they can turn on how happy they are, I think that makes people really uncomfortable. But now talk about major depressive disorder, talk about people that are committing suicide at an alarming rate in this country, and try to justify that queasiness in that light of you can give people a knob to take away suicidal ideation, suicidal intention. I would give them that knob. I don't know how you justify not doing that.
You can think about like all the suffering that's going on in the world. Like every single human being that's suffering right now, it's like it'll be a glowing red dot. The more suffering, the more it's glowing, and you just see the map of human suffering. And any technology that allows you to dim that light of suffering on a grand scale is pretty exciting. Because there's a lot of people suffering, and most of them suffer quietly. Yeah. And we turn we look away too often. And we should remember those that are suffering, because once again, most of them are suffering quietly.
Well, and on a grander scale, the fabric of society, people have a lot of complaints about how our social fabric is working or not working, how our politics is working or not working. Those things are made of neurochemistry too, in aggregate, right? Like our politics is composed of individuals with human brains, and the way it works or doesn't work is potentially tunable, in the sense that, I don't know, say, remove our addictive behaviors or tune our addictive behaviors for social media, or our addiction to outrage, our addiction to sharing the most angry political tweet we can find. I don't think that leads to a functional society. And if you had options for people to moderate that maladaptive behavior, there could be huge benefits to society. Maybe we could all work together a little more harmoniously toward useful ends.
There's a sweet spot, like you mentioned. You don't want to completely remove all the dark sides of human nature, because those kind of are somehow necessary to make the whole thing work. But there's a sweet spot.
Yeah, I agree. You gotta suffer a little, just not so much that you lose hope.
Yeah.